This is the best
Do you hear me?
of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Welcome back to the program. We've been talking during the break, for those of you away, about this connection between the Washington Redskins and Alabama. We went over a list of about 4 players who are now on the roster. Darius Geis from LSU as well. So why not bring in the All-American? And we talked to Jonathan a number of times since he's left Alabama. Jonathan Allen joins us. Jonathan, thank you, as always, for your time. Good afternoon, and hope the spring has been going well for you. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself? Appreciate you having me.
Now that I assume, I don't know when the OTAs are, but so what have you been doing since football season?
Right now, just recovering. I'm all good to go, ready for next year. As a team, we're running, lifting, getting back into the swing of things. So we're just getting ready for this upcoming season. Good
deal. Well, we were talking about a couple of pretty familiar. I mean, you've already seen a familiar name or two on the Skins roster. But let me get your reaction to the draft, especially a couple of Alabama players heading your way. What can you tell us about this?
I'm super excited. You know, when I found out we were taking Payne and later on Sean Dion and Cam Sims, those are guys that I've played with and I trust. I know that they're built tough mentally and physically. So to have a bunch of guys on the team like that, I mean, it's always a good thing.
Overall, 12 Alabama players were taken in the draft. I think 5 more signed free agent contracts. I may have been surprised, but something tells me you're not. You played on this team not long ago. I mean, you know how good these players are. I mean, what makes Alabama so appealing to the NFL GMs and head football coaches?
I feel like the consistency that Alabama brings is always a thing that GMs and NFL head coaches are looking for. I mean, you know what you're going to get out of a player. You know how they were coached in college, so there's not too much mentally they can't handle, and that's a big thing, making that step to the next level.
I remember, I think it was in Tuscaloosa, Jonathan, we asked you this question, but I want to ask you again for maybe new audiences. But in terms of a transition from a weight room run by Scott Cochran to a defense, obviously you had Kirby as your coordinator, Nick Saban, of course, looking over as well. Is there much of a difference from that process to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is a difference. I feel like in college, coaches are trying to, and I know this might sound wrong, mentally, I don't want to say break, but mentally test you. They want to see how you're going to act under certain situations. And not to say that the NFL doesn't test you, but it's on a different level. You're an NFL pro. They expect you to be able to be mentally tough and do those sort of things. So you don't do as many things to be tested. But in college, I mean, they're testing you 24/7, all day, every day. And you always have somebody on you. So in the NFL, you have to be more self-motivated and be able to do things and push yourself. But I mean, it's tough at Alabama.
In terms of doing that, Jonathan, obviously, I mean, you're a really bright guy who was clearly ready for the NFL. But how do you deal with that aspect of it? Because you're right. There's no Scott Cochran yelling at you, screaming at you, trying to make you better.
Well, I mean, definitely going through Alabama, you realize what's important. And for us, I mean, you always just want to be the best football player you can. So you just have to keep it in perspective and just realize why are you playing the game and use that to motivate you.
Before we go, give us your schedule the rest of the year in terms of the OTAs, and then I get, does training ever stop when you're in the NFL?
No, I mean it definitely does. I mean, there's times where you take breaks and recover, physically and mentally, but you always have to be trying to get better. I mean, you're going to get replaced. So so that's the thing that we're all fighting towards. There's only a certain amount of spots on the NFL, and a lot of people want it. So it's a very competitive market, so you always want to keep the upper hand that you have when you're on an NFL team and always try to get better.
Good deal, Jonathan. You have a great spring and summer, and we look forward to seeing you this fall. Thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. Jonathan Allen calling us from the Redskins, talking about a number of new players from Alabama. Darius Geis as well will be joining the Redskins roster. More of your phone calls. We'll try to grab a couple of people here before we head to the break. John is in St. Louis. Hello, John. Good afternoon.
Paul, how are you doing, sir?
We are doing well. Thank you.
Very good. It's starting to warm up here in St. Louis, and the summer's here finally. It's been a cold, cold winter and spring.
It really has.
Anyway, real quick here, Paul. I know I might step on a couple of toes here. There's always quite a contingency in the following of Tiger Woods fans, but I really think it's about time for Tiger to take a step back and see if he thinks he needs to go to the broadcast booth, because I can tell you what, I think he demonstrated he's lost a little bit off the fastball when it comes to the game. His appearance and results at the Masters speak to that.
Well, the only thing I would say about that is he's only played 4 or 5 tournaments. He came in second in one. He didn't play well in the Masters, but I think he finished in the top 25. I mean, I just don't think we know yet. I give him all. I mean, he's playing this week. He's playing a couple more times before the U.S. Open. I mean, this is somebody who is just in the early stages of his comeback.
Well, Paul, is this a physical issues or is this confidence?
Well, do you play golf, John?
Yes, I do.
Well, then I don't need to give you a primer. If you're coming back for the second or third time from a serious injury, it's a combination. It's you're thinking about. First of all, you have to train yourself to block out your prior issues. You can't think about that as you're making your swing. But confidence is one of the most critical aspects of golf. I think you could line up 300 professional golfers from around the world, and there's probably not dramatic difference between them, except when you get 90 yards out in the green, and who can chip, who can putt, and most important, and we had Ken Smithmeyer on here yesterday. This is applicable in golf. It's applicable in any facet of life. How do you deal with pressure?
That's absolutely right.
And I don't think Tiger Woods is comfortable dealing with pressure. 15 years ago, there was nobody in the game that's ever handled it better. But once you get into that rhythm and once you start hitting the shots and win, you're back in a groove. You're back in that zone. But he's not there yet. He has to play more, and he has to be in contention. And the one Sunday 6 or 8 weeks ago when he was in contention, he handled it really well.
Okay. Well, Paul, as always, you really give some great insight. You have a fantastic show, okay?
Thank you, John.
I'll see you.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not I might have agreed with you 2 months ago, but I think you have to let it play out. I think Tiger Woods has shown that he's capable of coming all the way back. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Millie is up next.
Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
Hi, Millie.
Oh, I wasn't surprised when I saw on the show yesterday that Alabama had 12 people selected for the NFL. Were you?
No.
I think that they're better trained than just about anybody you can imagine. Nick Saban couldn't be the best person, and anybody. I noticed there was a caller today who complimented you on your show. I've always thought that you had the best show in the entire world, and I think you always will. And to me, you're an emperor, you're a czar, and you're a king all at the same time.
I'm trying to think, Millie, between being an emperor, a czar, and a king, what would be the best gig? Czar, you normally associate with Russia.
Yeah.
Emperor, more ancient times, maybe the Far East. King, you know what? I like king. King of Spain, King of England. They both have nice homes. They both have a lot of royal jewels. I think I want to be the king.
Yeah, I think you would make a wonderful one.
My grandfather, Millie, was born in London, so I've got a little bit of British blood in me. I don't think I have any royal blood in me. So in terms of being a descendant, in terms of a right to the crown, I think I'm probably behind you.
Yeah, well, I think that you would have made a wonderful.
Would you have made a good queen?
I don't know.
Imagine Queen Millie.
No, I don't know really. The thought sort of,
you and Elizabeth remind me a little bit of each other.
Do you know something? I was thinking about it wouldn't have been such a bad idea, but I don't think I would like.
A lot of times, Millie, and I'm sure, Queen Elizabeth has been married for however many years, but quite often, back in the day, there were arranged marriages. The fathers of royal blood would mix and match their children.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they certainly did.
I mean, you have some familiarity with that, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I do very much so. And, by the way, at the beginning of the show, they had Randy listed as Mark.
Oh, so Randy, are you role playing today? What's going on?
Role playing in what sense, Millie?
Well, the thing of it is that
by the way, Millie, do you like to role play?
As Mark, and I don't think that you are Mark anywhere close to it.
No, I'm not Mark. My name's Randy. I think they fonted me incorrectly earlier. That's maybe what you're.
His name is Randy. Uh-huh. He's not Randy, Millie.
Randy, Randy is your name, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Anyway, it was nice seeing both of you yesterday, and it's nice to see you and John on today.
Likewise, hearing your voice, Millie.
You never answered me, Millie. Do you like to role play or not?
Sometimes I do. I used to act in high school in all the plays in high school.
That wasn't exactly what I had in mind.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Welcome back. We were talking about callers during the break, and we're ready to go again. And let's go to this guy because he's had some of the worst. John Hayes and I were talking about this earlier. He's had some of the worst calls in the show's history recently, and we're going to give him one more chance to straighten that out.
Good afternoon, Paul. How y'all doing today?
Without me going to him.
Paul.
Joe, you're under attack here by the guys in the booth.
Okay. Well, let me give you one update. I do want to give. I did mention. And
by the way, Joe, let me warn you that you are on the shortest possible leash.
Okay, I'm going to get. Well, let me just go ahead and get to my point. I did want to say this about my grandson. He did hit his first home run last weekend.
Let me interrupt you. Joe, with all due respect, your grandson's baseball career is probably not going to be known to anyone else. So we're all catching up here. So what's your point?
Okay, well, who ain't proud of their grandkids? But I do want to get on the Dallas Cowboys.
No, we're all for grandkids, but we need to know we don't know who your grandson is.
Braxton Jack. Y'all will hear of him in a few years.
Okay, that's interesting. But just saying my grandson isn't interesting.
Oh, well, y'all are going to see, because in T-ball level, it's very rare for one of them to clear the field.
Okay, hold on a second. Your grandson plays T-ball, right?
Right.
And how old is he?
He's just turned 6 last month.
Big time prospect, Paul.
So your 6-year-old grandson has potential. He has potential as a T-ball player. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, T-ball. Well, hey, if you're going to play it, be the best, right?
I would agree. I'm actually interested in this story. John Hayes, you're obviously not.
Well, they're doing good. They got a tournament coming up this weekend, and I'll let you know how that is.
Yeah, please. But could you write me a letter about that and spare us on the? Okay, good. What else do you want to talk about?
Okay, well, I'm going to apologize for talking bad about.
No. Here's the new thing, Joe. We don't need apologies from you. Take that one out of your repertoire.
Okay, well, this is the main reason I called. What do you think about Joe and the influence he's going to do with the Dallas Cowboys?
You've gone to the apology routine before. We don't want to hear it anymore. We don't really pretty much care about Bo Scarborough either. He was taken late in the draft. Good for him. Congratulations. What else?
Okay. Who do you think looks better? Baltimore Ravens with the Alabama players they have.
Okay, this is the end of you, Joe. Thanks for the call. You couldn't. We tried to help you. You kept drowning, and let's get some analysis of that from Matt. Matt, what'd you think of that call?
That was awful. And you got to stop picking on Millie, Paul. That's like picking on your grandmother.
Well,
she
I don't have a grandmother to pick on, so Millie's it.
Role play?
It was a joke, Matt.
I know, but
you don't think 73-year-old people role play?
Paul, did you pick on the blind kid when you were in first grade? Did you go up there and start saying, here's the book?
How did you know, Matt? How did you know that?
I'm just saying, you don't. When you said that, it was funny, but she had no clue what you were talking about.
That's what made it funny.
Yeah, evil funny, Paul.
Paul. Humor is very difficult. Great comedy has to make you feel uncomfortable.
And then the T-ball call. I mean, my son plays T-ball, but I'm not going to call the Paul Finebaum show and tell him.
Yeah, listen, Matt, I don't need the T-ball association calling us, but
I know. Hey, my son's a prospect. I think Kirby Smart ought to start recruiting him.
I would be interested in your son playing T-ball, but I'm not interested in Joe's grandson.
Joe, were y'all going to do the worst calls of all time? Is that?
Well, I think we've already had it today. That's the problem.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to be there on there. I'm a Georgia fan, So, but no, I wasn't going to call in today. I was going to give it a break, but I heard some of these pathetic calls. I'm like, God, this is terrible.
Well, you can tell now, Matt, that there's a conscious effort here to. I don't know if do you hunt at all?
I play golf.
Yeah, I don't hunt either, but friends of mine do, and they call it thinning the herd in among deer. And right now, with guys like Joe, we're starting to thin the herd.
You need to get Ken Smithmeyer on back with Larry, and I mean that was with Jim. That was pretty fun.
Well, and by the way, having taken Ken's judgment test, it's not difficult to predict which side of the ledger Jim will fall.
Well, Jim gets so mad. Pretty.
I don't think from the self-awareness and the emotional and stress part of it will be good for Jim.
I wish I could send y'all this voicemail. Larry called my cell phone while he was in Atlanta, 3 sheets to the wind, and I mean it's pure comedy. I mean that guy is hilarious. It's like calls me Matt the Hat, and I mean, hey, I saw a bird. It took a dump. I thought about you. I mean, the guy's pure comedy. I mean, maybe you got to get 12 beers in him, but he is definitely a funny guy.
Larry's an all-timer.
Yeah, I wish I could figure out. I probably need to email it to you. I'll do that. But it's, I mean, you'll laugh. I've sent it to all my friends that we've laughed for 30 minutes listening to this show. So,
thanks, Matt. We're at the end of hour number 1.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a flip.
Squirrel is on the air.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in just a second. I'm listening on the radio. I'm in my truck today, and so I didn't see the playback, but I heard it yesterday, and it was compelling. Let's put it that way. But no, first I wanted to talk about your and Millie's relationship, man. I mean, I was listening to her call earlier, and it seems like. I mean, as someone who, listened to her very first call and tried to warn you at that point, it seems like you're just getting a little short with her. Are things getting strained? Are you getting bored? Or
well, you reach that point in the relationship, Squirrel.
Yeah. Just need to spice things up a little bit.
You need to do a little role playing.
You heard what you're speaking of role playing. You heard what she said when you were out of town when Peter Burns was hosting, didn't you?
I did not.
Well, you need to go back and listen to the tape, but Peter mentioned something about her, and something to her, and she said, well, the one thing she wants to do is go to Charlotte. And she says, I know Paul doesn't think I have any business there. And to kind of put it, paraphrase it, she basically said that she's a grown-ass woman, and she'll go basically anywhere she wants to go. And that she may show up there one day. She certainly is
entitled to go any place she wants to, but
exactly.
It's not my decision
exactly.
in terms of the security of this building, who they let in and who they don't.
Okay. Well, I'm just telling you what she said. Again, don't shoot the messenger because you don't like the message. But, no, it just seems like you're getting a little short with her, and I'm just kind of worried.
We are in a period of the show, and I think we've offended a few people, and I'm sorry my good friend Joe from Red Bay didn't like what I said. Lord. But we're trying. We're in that bridge between seasons, and we're trying to help callers get better. This is in professional football they call this the OTAs, and I tried to help Millie. I mean, we don't need Millie to call in Squirrel and talk about, well, Alabama really had a lot of players taken in the draft.
She's got to call in and talk to you about something, Paul.
But Billy needs to call in and talk about something that she's interested in, not that she thinks that we're interested in.
That is true. That would be good advice. Maybe if she'd play a little more hard to get, she'd have a little more success for you.
But, we love her calling in. Her dedication to the show is extraordinary.
Oh, my God. Well, no one will ever question her dedication. I mean, someone who'd write a letter a week to Joe Namath for 500 weeks. I mean, that's dedication right there. And that makes me wonder, one day when you do decide to get off the air and do decide to go hang out by the beach and take it easy, I mean, who's going to be her next infatuation would be my next question. But getting back to Ken and Jim's call yesterday, Ken says Jim has a cracked foundation.
Is that what he said?
Do you recall when he said that?
Yeah, Ken, by the way, Ken is a very highly respected person in his field.
He's got my respect.
Yeah.
He's got my respect. I thought he was fascinating. And did you call, when you set up the interview, did you have anybody in mind in particular, or was it, you go, I mean.
Well, no, I mean, frankly, we were thinking more Darryl than Jim.
Okay, I can see that. I can see where he could be in need of help, too. Have you taken that test or that evaluation that he gives?
In fact, I have taken it. I took it today.
Okay. How many possible outcomes are there? I mean, are you on one side or the other?
There are many. As Ken said yesterday, there are no right or wrong answers. What you're basically, and it's a bizarre test. I'm here to tell you that you can't outsmart it, because I think there are some trigger questions in there that are going to they're hidden bombs. And what the test is doing is judging your work ability, your personal self-awareness, how you deal with stress, how you deal with direction. I mean, one part of it is simply how would you fit into the workplace
with a team and working in a team environment. I can see that.
And Jim would probably fare really, really high there.
Oh, he would be a total disaster, just like he was during that phone call yesterday with Ken. I mean, the one way I always know that Jim was a fraud, all his talk of being such a great athlete and everything, the one way before I got any of my facts, the one way I knew he was lying is because Jim lacks the one thing all great athletes have. And you know what that is, don't you, Paul? Think about it. The one thing he lacks that all great athletes have starts with a C. Composure.
Confidence?
Composure. No, he's got plenty of confidence. He's got too much confidence. He lacks composure, Paul.
Hold on a second, Squirrel.
Yeah.
You said he has too much confidence.
Yes. Yeah, Lord knows it. When you're bragging about your 11th grade career. Do you think
he really has any confidence?
That's there you go. You may have hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, he may be trying to pump himself up, not pump us up. So maybe,
people,
again,
I'm not saying this specific to Jim, but people who tell you how good they are or how good they were, what are they really telling you?
Just like people that beg to be on a list. If you beg to be on a list, you really don't need to be on that list. Wouldn't you agree, Paul?
Probably. And by the way, I'm victim of all these mistakes in my career.
And while we're begging to be on lists,
I beg to be on a few lists before.
I guess I have too. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much, Squirrel. Begging to get off a few lists too.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
We're delighted to welcome in Billy Horschel, of course, former University of Florida golfer who has been playing very well lately. A couple of top finishes, including with his partner this past weekend in New Orleans, winning for the first time this year. Billy, first of all, congratulations. You have been on a nice little roll the last couple of weeks. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Yeah, I have been. It's been nice to finally see some results that I have been seeing for the majority of this year. So to play well leading up to Zurich and finally get a victory with my partner Scott Piercy in 2018. Still a lot of golf left, and hopefully we'll keep playing well.
Yeah, and I guess the obvious question, and I'm sure you're asking yourself now that I've had a top 5 and now a win, and previous to that a really good performance as well in Texas. I guess the golf season is just barely underway, really, as we head into May. But what do you see the rest of the way? I mean, we got 3 majors left, a lot to deal with, including some pretty big tournaments coming up here soon.
Yeah, we have a lot of golf left. Like you said, you got 3 majors, you got the FedEx Cup playoffs, the Ryder Cup. Hopefully what I can just, take this momentum and just keep trying to build on it. Does that mean there's going to be, a victory, in the next couple of weeks? I don't know. But, if I can just continue to build, keep building momentum, keep the momentum and the good play going, then I think, I don't see any reason why I can't play well. I mean, my track record shows once I get on a little run, I had this run for a nice long time. So it's going to be exciting to see what we have the rest of this year.
Billy, it's one of the great mysteries in sports, especially in golf, when you get on these rolls. When you don't play well versus when you have the last 3 weeks, is there any real explanation? I mean, other than the score?
I think what it comes down to is, when you play well, you get some momentum, you get some confidence, and so if you are having like a little rough patch, you can go back to a good play of really recent form and sort of, talk your way into playing well and getting yourself through the bad little stretch of holes you're playing, compared to if you're not playing well and you haven't had any real success in the last couple of weeks, last couple of months. It's tough to, stay positive and stay confident saying that something's good going to happen here soon. So it's all about just the confidence level and knowing that something has happened recently to give you that extra confidence that you need.
Talking to Billy Horschel, 5 career wins. Remember, we talked to him a couple of years ago after his humongous year. Billy, I know you're in New York today. You've got a new line coming out, I think debuting later this year during the PGA. Really anxious to hear about that, and tell us about your day up there.
Yeah, I'm up here in New York City today with my sponsor, Ralph Lauren. Obviously, I wear the RLX brand, Ralph Lauren Extreme, and really excited to partner with them and develop my own line of clothes. First time that they've ever collaborated with any individual and doing a special line, and we're doing a 5-piece line for the PGA Championship. It's available July 15th, and, it's just sort of my little take on what I like to see, what I've worn over the years, the color palette. And so it's really neat to see it come alive, really be involved, really even more so than I've ever been involved in the design process and picking out every little detail. So it's exciting to see it come to life, and we're doing some media for that, and it's going to, like I said, it's going to be available July 15th, and I'm going to be wearing it at the PGA Championship later this year. I
want to talk to you a little bit about how your life has changed. I think we talked to you a couple of years ago after you won the FedEx, and that had to be a life-changing experience. Forgetting the money, which I'm sure was pretty good. We know it was really good. But talk about that moment to today, and obviously being in New York with your own line. These are pretty major crowning achievements of one's golf career.
Yeah, my life's changed a lot since I won the FedEx Cup. I have 2 little girls now. Personally, my life's changed a lot in the last 2 years. My wife has had an issue with alcohol abuse, and then she had to go to rehab, and she's going to be 2 years sober May 21st. So personally, my life's changed a lot off the golf course, and then professionally, my life's changed in golf in the sense of where I'm seen in the game of golf and what I've done and what I've accomplished and what I've accomplished with my partners and my sponsors. So, man, there's a lot of changes that's gone on in the last 4 years since I won the FedEx Cup, and just to look back and see where I've come from and all the changes and the positive, the ups and downs we have in life. It's nice to see, that I'm still on the ascending curve.
On that front of dealing with adversity, and you've dealt with it in a couple of different ways. We all do, but yours is a little more public than mine, or a lot of people watching right now. What message, if any, do you glean from all of that? And if you do, and if you did, we appreciate it. We would appreciate if you would share it with our audience.
For me, just being, me personally, I'm always trying to get better every day. And, you're not always going to get better every day, whether that's professionally in golf or personally in the way you handle situations, this and that. So, but if you always have the goal or the motto of, I'm going to try and get better today. I'm going to do whatever I can to try and improve my life and try to improve my game of golf or whatever, you do in your life. I think you're always going to be going forward. Now when you look at it in my wife's sense, she just, every day is a new challenge for her. Every day is, okay, today I'm going to do whatever I can to maintain my sobriety, not have a drink. And with that, sometimes you have to reach out to people. And, I know it's tough for people to ask for help, and, that's the toughest thing to do. But, I have a lot of respect for people who ask for help, who admit that they have an issue or admit that they have a fault, something that they aren't, easily to admit to somebody else. I mean, we all have faults, but not everyone is willing to admit to them. So the people that are willing to come out to, whether it be friends or whether to be a more public atmosphere to try and help other people with it, I have a lot of respect for those people.
Oh, that's an amazing story. Before you go, Billy, we had Wells Padgett on yesterday. He's a young golfer at Auburn who knocked in a 15-footer, a walk-off win for his team to win the SEC championship. And he talked a lot about getting moral support from Jason Duffner. And I know you're very involved as well at your alma mater. Talk about the importance of the University of Florida to your life, because I know we've seen you down there and talked to you down there. It would really be interesting to hear.
Yeah, University of Florida is huge. I grew up a Gator fan, always wanted to go to school there. I was fortunate enough that Buddy Alexander, who was a golf coach there for almost 30-plus years, offered me a scholarship, and I took it, knowing that he had a ton of success developing players and producing PGA Tour players, and these guys have gone on and had fabulous PGA Tour careers and developing even better individuals as well. So going there, learning from him, being around that competitive environment, not just golf, but, when I was there, football, won 2 national championships. The basketball team won 2 national championships. Other sports there won national championships. So when you're around that atmosphere, you want to do whatever you can to be in, to win national championships. You want to have that opportunity to be with the other great athletes at the University of Florida. And, I mean, I miss the University of Florida. Every day I wish I was back in Gainesville, having fun, living the college life, trying to get better at the game of golf. The schoolwork, you got to take the schoolwork. But I truly enjoy every minute of every day that I spent at the University of Florida, whether it was in the classroom, trying to get smarter, I guess, and then on the golf course with Buddy Alexander, my teammates.
Billy, congratulations again on last Sunday, as well as today in New York. We look forward to seeing you when we make our swing through the South, and we'll obviously be following you very closely the rest of the golf season. Thank you for your time, as always.
Thanks, Paul. Go Gators.
You bet it. Great to talk to Billy Horschel. It's always nice and always generous with his time.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Put a little cherry on the top.
JD is in Arkansas. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Paul, I'd like to apologize slightly for my call the other day. I
not a problem.
Came on a little bit too strong, and I didn't allow the give and take that the proper radio call should entail. So I do want to apologize about that. So,
thank you. Thank you very much.
What I was calling about is one Captain Obvious, a.k.a. Booger McFarland, or maybe the other way around. Anyway, I'm calling about Booger's call. You ask him the two teams that have the biggest hill to climb, or something to that effect, and he obviously looks down there on his on the standings and sees Arkansas at 1-7. Yeah, they're at the bottom. He sees Tennessee at 0-8. Yeah, they're at the bottom. And I just don't understand. I mean, he doesn't seem to do his homework quite well. I mean,
JD, hold on a second. Booger McFarland does tremendous amount of. I worked with him every Sunday morning this year, and I don't know anyone who is better prepared. He doesn't care about what happened last year. He takes a look at what's happening this year That's why he said what he did.
Okay, well, I mean, you can give me that opinion simply because
by the way, what I just told you isn't an opinion. I didn't give you an opinion there. I gave you fact. I was with him every Sunday morning of the college football season. We went on the air at 7 a.m. on ESPN, and he talked about every game imaginable, and he knew more than anyone else in the country. I can tell you that right now.
Well, okay, you can know that because I don't deal with him personally like you do. All I can do is base my opinion on what he says on your show, on one call. So if you're right, you're right. Well, so be it. I'm just going on this one call, and just who happens to be either going to be the breakout team, who's going to be better than everybody thinks.
JD, JD.
Yeah.
What is your wealth of knowledge to counter boogers?
I'm not trying to compete with boogers.
I mean, you just got through telling me he doesn't do his homework, and I'm asking you, what is your? Where do you? How do you know that?
He's stating the obvious, Paul. I mean, I can sit there and say Arkansas is going to struggle, and Tennessee's going to struggle, based on just what I listen to on your show.
Okay.
I mean that's simple. Now, and then what I knew what was going to happen when you said, okay, give us a team that might do better than what everybody thinks they're going to do. Oh, I knew what was coming up there. It was going to be bad. Paul.
JD, allow me to ask you a question. I realize you're an Arkansas fan, but give me a reason to believe why Arkansas is going to be good this year.
I never said we were going to be
I'm
good.
Just
That's
asking
not
you a
what
question.
I said.
Give me a reason to believe why they should win 5 or 6 games.
They're going to win 5 or 6 games just because they're playing a sorry schedule. I mean,
I don't know. Not.
I mean,
by the way, JD, that is not a guarantee to win 6 games when you look at Arkansas's schedule.
I tell you what, Paul. I'll make a bet with you. Any amount you want to bet. I'll say Arkansas wins more than 4 games. You say if they win 4 or less.
I just got through bringing up 6, and you went down to 4. I feel
no. You said no.
El Paso saloon getting conjured. Well, number one, JD, I don't bet, and I'm not going to start now.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a flip.